Good morning, Year 1, and welcome to our second day of our work on writing our own innovated stories. So today, again, we're focusing on you using full stops and capital letters when you're doing your writing, and also we're looking at finger spaces and, if possible, writing on a line if you've got line paper to work with. So here's the second part of the story that we're going to innovate. So if you remember, in our story, the boy checks his boat, packs bags, and he sets off to take the penguin to the South Pole. Along the way, they tell stories every night, and the penguin is enthralled. Well, we're innovating that, and when we practiced and we chose our stuff, this is what we came up with. So we ended up with a girl taking the camel, as you remember from yesterday, in her car. Now, the girl and the camel pack their bags before they set out for the desert. And on their journey, they remember to tell stories still. You're going to have to remember that because we didn't have a frame for that. And then the girl and the car. The girl takes the camel in the car and they drive all the way to the desert. And that's where we get into today. The last thing we might think about is how the camel feels when it gets there. Okay, so here's how our story starts. The next day, the girl decided to take the camel back to the desert. So that's your opening, and if you want to carry on from there and try to write the rest of the section of the story, so until the camel gets to the desert, and then that's as far as we're going today. So I'm going to move on to the next page to show you what the sheet is that you can use and the checklist you need to do. So what we did was something like the next day, the girl checked her car to see if it was ready to go to the desert. Then they set off together to travel to the desert. At night, the girl told the camel stories. And then after a long journey, or at long last, the girl and the camel reached the desert. And what I want you to check for is make sure you're using capital letters, full stops at the end of sentences, finger spaces if you're writing it rather than typing it. If you've got line paper, writing on the line. And if you can, try to think of a sentence that uses the and to link it. So it could be the girl and the camel, or the girl and the camel got in the car and set off for the desert. But that is the challenge, which is why it's in green. And that's what we'd like you to do today. And as usual, if you can send it in for us to check, that would be amazing. And that is the end of today's English lesson.